Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every person's life when the waiting must stop. The thinking, the planning, the wishing, the hoping, it all must be set aside for one thing and one thing only, action. Tonight, I stand before you not to inspire more dreams, but to ignite movement. The topic of this speech is one that every successful man and woman has learned to embrace without excuse, without delay, and without apology. Force yourself to take action. Action is the cure for fear, not more thinking. Fear grows in stillness. It feeds on hesitation, on delay, on the stories we tell ourselves about what might go wrong. The more we sit with fear, the more it expands. It doesn't shrink with analysis, it multiplies. Most people don't understand this. They believe that if they just think hard enough, plan well enough, prepare long enough, the fear will eventually vanish. But fear is not logic. It doesn't respond to logic, it responds to movement. The only way to shrink fear is to step directly into the space it occupies. Thinking can become a trap. It disguises itself as productivity, but it's often procrastination wearing a convincing mask. You tell yourself you're being responsible, that you're waiting until you're ready, until you're certain, until you have every piece figured out. But deep down, you know the truth. You're waiting because you're afraid to fail, afraid to be judged, afraid to lose control. So you keep thinking, you keep looping, you keep imagining the worst outcomes, replaying scenarios that haven't happened and probably never will. Fear is clever. It makes the imaginary feel real. It convinces you that movement is dangerous and stillness is safe. But the opposite is true. When you take action, something powerful happens. Your focus shifts. You're no longer consumed by what might happen. You're dealing with what is happening, and in that shift, the fear loses its grip. You gain data, you gain perspective, you gain momentum. You start realizing that what felt terrifying was only terrifying in theory. You find out that you're capable not just in imagination, but in motion. And every step forward chips away at the illusion that fear tried to build. You start to trust yourself, not because you're fearless, but because you're moving anyway. Courage doesn't come before action, it comes from action. Waiting to feel brave is the lie that keeps millions stuck. You can't think your way into courage, you earn it through motion. You do the thing that scares you, and on the other side, you realize you survived. You made it through. You faced the discomfort and didn't collapse. And with each act of bravery, the fear starts to respect you. It learns that it can't control you, that your actions are no longer dictated by its voice. Action gives you proof. It turns abstract hopes into tangible outcomes. It turns vague goals into visible progress. Even small actions matter, especially small actions, because they're the ones we avoid the most. The email you don't send, the phone call you don't make, the gym you don't enter, the conversation you avoid. Those tiny moments are where fear breeds, and those tiny decisions are where you fight it. By choosing movement in the moment, you start building a new identity. Someone who does hard things, someone who faces discomfort, someone who acts even when they don't feel ready. Most people wait for clarity before they act, but what they don't realize is that clarity comes after movement, not before it. You find direction by walking, not by staring at the map forever. Life rewards action, not perfect action, just action. Even messy steps count. Even mistakes teach, and often the only way to figure out what works is to try what doesn't. You learn faster by doing than by studying. You grow stronger by failing forward than by playing safe in your mind. Fear wants you stuck in your head. Action sets you free. There is no mental strategy that will erase fear the way momentum does, because when your body moves, when your energy shifts, when you step into motion, your brain follows. It starts to recalibrate. It stops looping worst-case scenarios and starts solving real-world problems. You stop feeling like a victim of your thoughts and start feeling like the creator of your results. That's the transformation. Not in your ideas, but in your actions. Not in what you feel, but in what you do despite what you feel. People talk about confidence as if it's a personality trait. It's not. It's a skill. It's built through repetition. Through facing the uncomfortable and realizing you're still standing. The first time is the hardest. The second time is better, and by the 10th time, what once terrified you becomes routine. But that transformation doesn't happen in your head. It happens in the moments you choose to act instead of overthink, in the moments you say yes when everything in you wants to retreat, in the seconds when your hand shakes, your voice trembles, but you still step forward. Discipline must replace motivation if you want consistent results. Motivation is fleeting. It's the rush you feel when a new idea hits, when inspiration strikes, when the vision of success is fresh and exciting. But that feeling doesn't last. It's unpredictable, emotional, and unreliable. You can't build anything long-term if you're depending on a mood to move you. Because there will be days when you don't feel like it, days when it's hard, days when no one's cheering you on, days when the results don't come fast enough. And on those days, motivation will vanish. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is what remains when motivation fades. It's the choice to keep going even when you're tired, bored, or discouraged. It's the voice that says, I don't feel like it, but I'm doing it anyway. Discipline is a decision, not a feeling. It's a system, not a surge of energy. It's the ability to stay loyal to what you said you'd do long after the excitement of saying it has disappeared. People who win at the highest levels aren't the most motivated. They're the most consistent. They've trained themselves to show up regardless of mood, regardless of circumstance, regardless of reward. The world rewards consistency. The people who deliver results, who grow steadily, who improve over time, they're the ones who understand the power of discipline. Because anyone can do the work when they're excited. That's easy. What separates the serious from the average is the ability to keep going when the novelty wears off, when the goals feel far away, when nobody notices your effort. Discipline is what keeps you moving through the silence, through the setbacks, through the boredom. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it's everything. Discipline is about structure. It's about habits. It's about doing the reps when nobody's watching. It's about saying no to distractions, to comfort, to excuses. It's waking up when you said you would, showing up when you don't want to, doing the work even when the results are invisible. It's building trust with yourself, one decision at a time. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you choose the harder path, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and you start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. People overcomplicate success. They think it requires genius, luck, perfect timing, but more often than not, it comes down to the unglamorous process of doing what needs to be done over and over without needing to feel good about it. That's the part most people avoid. They want the outcome, but not the process. They want the result, but not the routine. And so they chase motivation like it's the answer. But chasing motivation is like chasing the wind. It's not stable, it's not enough. Discipline, on the other hand, is under your control. It's not something you wait for, it's something you create. You set standards, you build systems, you design routines that pull you forward even when you don't feel like moving. You build a lifestyle that supports your goals rather than sabotages them. And that doesn't happen overnight. It happens through repetition, through intentional choices, through grinding on the days when others rest, through staying locked in when others drift. Discipline teaches you to push past your own limits. It shows you what you're capable of, not once, but every single day. It's not a switch you flip, it's a muscle you build. And the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. You start to crave the work, not because it's always fun, but because it makes you feel alive. It gives you control, it gives you clarity, it gives you progress. And progress is what drives fulfillment more than pleasure ever could. You stop negotiating with yourself, you stop asking if you feel like it, you stop needing external motivation. You do the thing because it's who you are. You become the person who trains, who writes, who builds, who works, regardless of how it feels in the moment. That shift is everything, because once discipline takes over, motivation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. If it's there, great. If it's not, no problem. The machine keeps running, the work gets done, the progress continues. That's how momentum is built. Not in the hype of day one, but in the grind of day 93 when no one is watching and you do it anyway. Waiting for the right time is the fastest way to waste your life. The perfect moment doesn't exist. The stars won't align. The schedule won't suddenly open up. Fear won't magically disappear. Life won't pause for you to gather yourself before you begin. And yet, this illusion of the right time is one of the most common lies people tell themselves. It's comfortable. It gives you an excuse to stay still. It makes hesitation feel noble, like you're being smart, patient, strategic. But beneath that comfort is fear, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of discomfort. So you wait. You wait for clarity. You wait for energy. You wait for some magical sign that tells you now is the moment. But waiting never removes the fear, it just feeds it. Time is the only resource you can't get back. And every second spent waiting for ideal conditions is a second of your life you'll never recover. Most of the opportunities people regret missing weren't lost because of bad timing. They were lost because of hesitation. Life rewards action, not always with immediate success, but with momentum, with progress, with growth. The people who move forward aren't always the smartest or the most prepared. They're the ones who decided that starting, even in uncertainty, was better than staying frozen in doubt. There is no perfect time to change your life. There's no ideal day to start a business, to write the first page, to ask for help, to pursue your dream, to make the hard decision. There's only now. And now is always messy. It's always incomplete. It's always tangled up with other responsibilities, distractions, and fears. But that's what makes it powerful. Because when you take action in the middle of the mess, you train yourself to lead in real conditions, not in fantasy. You build resilience. You learn to adapt. You stop waiting for perfect and start creating progress from whatever's available to you. People think that by waiting, they're protecting themselves. They think they're avoiding mistakes, dodging embarrassment, minimizing risk. But what they're really doing is choosing stagnation. They're choosing to let time slip by while life moves forward without them. The danger isn't in starting too early, it's in never starting at all. And most people who keep waiting for the right time don't realize that they've already made a decision. Indecision is a decision, and more often than not, it leads to regret. When you act before you're ready, you grow faster. You stretch beyond your comfort zone. You're forced to rise to the challenge, to solve problems in real time, to become resourceful. You stop fantasizing about success and start earning it through effort. Every step you take opens new doors, reveals new information, teaches you something that no book, course, or plan could have given you. And none of that happens while you're waiting. None of that growth comes to the person who keeps saying someday. Most people don't need more time. They need more courage. They already know what they need to do. They've already felt the pull. But fear is loud. It tells them to delay, to wait, to be careful. And so they build a life of paused potential. They talk about what they're going to do. They plan, research, overthink. They convince themselves they're being wise, but they're just staying safe. And safe doesn't lead to extraordinary. Safe leads to routine. It leads to a life of wondering what could have been. The truth is, action creates readiness, not the other way around. You don't wait until you feel ready. You act, and the readiness develops through doing. Confidence is built in motion. Clarity is gained through experience. Readiness is a byproduct of effort. And once you see that, you stop asking for the world to give you a sign. You stop looking for the green light. You become your own permission. You become your own proof. Every day you wait is a day you could have grown. Every day you delay is a day you could have started building. The gap between where you are and where you want to be doesn't close by thinking harder. It closes when you act, despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, despite the discomfort. And most of the people you admire, the ones who built something meaningful, who achieved something rare, they weren't more lucky or more prepared. They just started. They started while it was hard, while it was scary, while they were still figuring it out. They understood that the right time is now, because now is the only time that's real. Progress only begins when comfort ends. Growth and comfort do not live in the same place. As long as you're clinging to what's easy, familiar, and safe, you're standing still. Nothing significant happens inside your comfort zone. It might feel good, it might feel secure, but comfort never delivers transformation. It preserves the current version of you. It shields you from risk, but it also locks you out of opportunity. The life you want, the goals you dream about, the person you're capable of becoming, all of that lives beyond what's easy. It lives in discomfort, in challenge, in the stretch. Most people avoid discomfort like it's a threat. They think discomfort means something is wrong. They feel fear, resistance, doubt, and they take it as a signal to stop. But discomfort isn't a danger sign. It's a sign of expansion. It means you're doing something new, something meaningful, something that requires more from you than you've given before. That's where progress starts, not in ease, but in effort. not in certainty, but in challenge. Comfort is predictable. It keeps you in patterns. Discomfort is unpredictable, but it's where the change begins. The people who grow the fastest are the ones who are willing to be uncomfortable the most consistently. They lean into the awkwardness. They step into situations they haven't mastered. They volunteer for the hard task. They speak when their voice shakes. They try when they don't feel ready. And because of that, they expand. Their skills expand, their confidence expands, their mindset expands. Not because they were more talented, but because they were more willing to struggle in public, to fail forward, to earn growth through discomfort. It's easy to want the results without the progress without the pain, the breakthrough without the breakdown. But that's not how it works. Every new level of your life will require a new version of you, a version that is forged in the fire of discipline, discomfort, and decision. And every time you resist that fire, every time you retreat back into comfort, you delay your own evolution. You hit the snooze button on your potential. You trade growth for safety. But the cost of safety is often a quiet dissatisfaction that never leaves. Discomfort is a teacher. It reveals your limits. It exposes your excuses. It brings your insecurities to the surface. And if you face it with courage, it transforms you. It makes you stronger, wiser, more resilient. But you have to stay with it. Most people feel the discomfort and run. They go back to what's easy, what's known, what doesn't challenge them. And so they stay stuck. Not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they keep choosing comfort over progress. There will always be a reason to stay comfortable. There will always be a voice that says it's too hard, too risky, too soon. That voice is trying to protect you, but it's also trying to keep you small. Growth doesn't happen on accident. It doesn't show up just because you want it. It arrives when you choose discomfort on purpose, when you say yes to things that scare you, when you stretch your identity by doing what the old version of you avoided. That's the real turning point, not when things get easier, but when you get braver. Discomfort creates pressure. Pressure creates adaptation. You don't build muscle without resistance. You don't build courage without fear. You don't build mastery without failure. It's not supposed to feel good all the time. In fact, if it always feels good, you're probably not growing. You're maintaining. You're repeating. You're surviving, not evolving. And if you want more from life, if you want to become someone who creates, who leads, who changes things, you have to get used to being uncomfortable. Not once, but regularly. Not temporarily, but as a lifestyle. This doesn't mean you live in burnout or chaos. It means you become intentional about where you apply pressure. You push yourself in your habits, in your conversations, in your learning. You raise your standards. You stop settling for good enough. You challenge your routines, your assumptions, your limits. And in doing that, you open the door to something greater. You start to feel alive in the struggle. Not because struggle is fun, but because it's real. It's raw. It's where your edges are tested and your character is revealed. Eventually, what once felt uncomfortable becomes your new baseline. The gym that used to feel intimidating becomes part of your rhythm. The public speaking that once gave you panic becomes part of your presence. The discipline that once felt restrictive becomes the source of your freedom. And it all started when you stepped away from comfort and leaned into the challenge in front of you. Self-doubt is the silent killer of potential. It creeps in when you're on the edge of something great, when you're about to take the leap, when you finally start believing there's more to your life than what you've settled for, and just as you're about to move, it whispers, "You're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. Who are you to try this?" That voice doesn't yell. It doesn't need to. It just needs to speak quietly enough to plant hesitation, because hesitation is all it takes to stall momentum, to create delay, to convince you that staying still is safer than taking a chance. But every time you listen to self-doubt, you reinforce the belief that your fear is more trustworthy than your potential. No one escapes self-doubt. It visits everyone, even the most successful, the most experienced, the most talented. The difference is how they respond to it. They hear it, but they don't obey it. They feel it, but they act anyway, because they understand that self-doubt is a liar. It doesn't speak truth, it speaks limitations. It draws on your past failures, your insecurities, your fear of judgment, and it pretends those things define your future. But your future isn't built by fear, it's built by choice. And when you choose to move in spite of doubt, you start to rewire your mind to believe in action over anxiety. You can't wait to feel confident to take action. Confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a byproduct. It's what you earn through doing, through failing, through repeating, through growing. Every time you act while doubting yourself, you weaken the power of that voice. You take away its authority. Because you're proving to yourself that doubt doesn't mean danger, it just means discomfort. And discomfort isn't a stop sign, it's a signal that you're doing something unfamiliar, something worth doing, something with the potential to change you. The people who look fearless aren't fearless. They've just gotten really good at acting while afraid. They've built the habit of showing up, of speaking up, of stepping forward when it would be easier to shrink back. And that habit is available to anyone. But it only forms when you get tired of letting doubt make your decisions. At some point, you have to decide that your dreams are more important than your fears, that the regret of never trying is more painful than the risk of failing, that your voice deserves to be heard even if it shakes, your ideas deserve to live even if they're imperfect, and your presence matters even if it feels invisible right now. Self-doubt often comes disguised as humility. It says, don't stand out, don't be too ambitious, don't make others uncomfortable. But true humility isn't about hiding, it's about honesty. It's knowing your flaws and still choosing to show up. It's accepting your imperfections and still doing the work. It's leading without pretending to be perfect. That kind of humility is powerful, but self-doubt twists it into paralysis, into avoidance, into a life lived beneath your potential. And the cost of that is heavy. It shows up in dreams delayed, ideas unspoken, talents unused. It shows up in the quiet frustration that builds over time as you watch others move forward while you remain stuck in your own head. You have to understand that doubt doesn't disappear with success. It evolves. The stakes get higher, the audience gets bigger, the risks become more public, and if you haven't learned how to manage self-doubt at the beginning, it will sabotage you later. So the best time to train yourself is now, in the small moments, the daily decisions, the little acts of courage. Every time you take action with a shaking voice or trembling hands, you build emotional strength. You create internal proof that you can do hard things, even when you're unsure, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. The goal isn't to eliminate doubt, it's to move faster than it, to hear the voice and still speak your truth, to feel the fear and still take the step, to be unsure and still show up. Because once you start doing that, you stop being held hostage by your own mind. You stop giving power to the voice that was never on your side in the first place. You start becoming someone who trusts their direction more than their hesitation, someone who creates a future that isn't limited by the past, someone who lives boldly, not because they never feel doubt, but because they've learned how to rise above it through action, repetition, and resolve.